Okay, this is a new tutorial we're going to do on setting up a business card for step and repeat or imposition. We've probably done it in Adobe Illustrator or InDesign. You might be familiar with how to do that. But we're going to try and take a look at it using a new program that was just donated to us by Fusion Pro. And it's a really high-end variable data program. What variable data is kind of just that. It's data that will vary per print. So for example, when you get tickets to an event, the variable data would be the numbers. The sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the same. Each print is the same, but the number changes. So on a variable printed postcard, maybe you have somebody's name and their address printed on it. So every time the card prints out of your digital press, it has a different name and contact info on it. This can go all the way up to having different artwork, different photos. It can be dialed in very specific, and really, it's a thing of the future. It's here. It's now. It's what people are doing. In graphics, I don't see us doing a whole lot of it in the high end, but we'll get to it. But I just wanted to show you something that I found pretty useful, and that is just the basic step and repeat, or what they call imposition. This is a business card I did for a friend of mine. It's 3.5 by 2 inches, and it is it needs to be stepped out. It's got full bleed, 1/8 of an inch bleed. I'm not going to go through showing you how to set that up in Illustrator, but just know that the page size has to include the bleed. So that red area is a 3.5 by 2, and the blue area in there is 3.75 by 2.25. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this is a little program called Fusion Pro Imposer, and it doesn't actually do, I would say it doesn't actually do the imposing for you, but it lets you set up a template. Now this is what I think is really cool, because once we set up this template, we can use it for all of our say business cards with bleed. And we don't have to go back in and tweak it or do much to it if the template's set up properly. So it basically works off that PDF that we just saved. So I'm going to go into this load button, and I'm going to go find some business card right here. This is the business card master. Now it said, I think it, let me double check that. I'm not sure. Okay, I think it's right. I just wanted to make sure it's supposed to use all the data in that business card for this template. So what I'm going to do, here's our width is 3.5, our height is 2. I'm going to give it 1.25 inches bleed, which you can see right there. Pages per record. That basically means how many different names we have designated on the page and how many pages they want per each one. Right now I'm not going to worry about that. I just wanted to show you how to set this up. So that's our first thing, is we're just setting up the height, the bleed, and then we're going to go into this press sheet. Our press sheet size for most of the stuff we do is going to be 8.5 by 11. You can use the image shift. The image shift centers it, or you can start from the bottom. You know, you could put in a specific amount and start from there. I don't really see a reason for that. I'm sure there is, but I just see that as just making things harder. So especially if you have to trim it on the cutter. So crop marks, we put those in. Offset, we can change the offset. The offset is the space of the trim mark from the edge of the card where it gets cut, and the length of the crop mark is there too. Here's our letter size. So that's looking good. Pretty makes sense from there. Now let's go into our layout. So we're just going to do one simplex, not duplex. It's not two-sided for this one. And we're going to just go and we're going to choose horizontal, and we're going to choose, we want 2. And see what it does already? Change the spacing to 0. And we're going to choose duplicate. Okay, so I don't know if that messed up our recording. Somebody was calling my name and messing with my chi here. So if you notice this duplicate thing, see what happens here? It's got record 1, record 2. So if I had several records in one business card, it would it set it up that way. But I just want to step out one card, so I'm hitting duplicate. Now under here, I'm going to go to the vertical, and I'm going to put 5. Uh-oh, doesn't fit, right? Cool, it tells me it doesn't fit on the press sheet. Also, my spacing I want to be 0. But I want to change the count to 4. Now, we already know, most of us know that when we have a full bleed business card on a 8.5 by 11, we know that it's going to fit 8 up, 2 across, 4 down. So that's pretty much it for what we have to do to set up a template. And then we go into the save as, and we have to save it. Let's save this as, now we could just save it as 8 up B card with bleed. I mean, it's just a test, so we'll see what it's got. All right, so from there, let's move on to something else or another portion of this, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're going back to the 1-up, and I wanted to show you how we use that. Now, we just set up the template or the FPI file for imposition, and I think we're ready to go. So what we have to do is somehow trick this into thinking it's got variable data. We're not going to actually do any changing data, any data that's changing or varying on this card. We're just going to do one card, step it out 8 times, and go from there. The reason we're doing it this way is I want you to get used to just stepping things out sort of automatically, or using the templates and all that stuff, because that's going to be important down the road. So the first thing we're going to do is, if you go right here and you look to compose, that's what we want, is that compose, but it's grayed out. So we have to trick it into thinking we put something in there. So I go to the data definition wizard, and then specify a data source. I say none, and then I click next, and I finish. And then I want to go to compose. So the compose, I go to the imposition. Now I'm pulling up that FPI file we just made. So I'm going to go back in there. Where's my FPI? Right there. All right. Now some other things you can change here. Let's do that. Let's put in color bars and page info. That's kind of interesting. That can be handy. So we're going to hit compose. All right, now it says view as PDF. There we go. All right. I think this is great. I think this is something we've needed for a long time. Again, we're going to get into it where things like this, the trust my work, username, blah, 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 all that is going to be populated with different data. This might say, Bill something, Joe something, blah, 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 and it's all going to be on the same sheet. And then we're just going to cut it and go from there. Now, what I like is we just put some of the information on there. We just put color bars on there. It's good for showing, the density of the colors and how it's printing. And then we just put down this down here. I thought that's really cool. Put the name of the file, and then we put the date and the time it was basically done. So that's pretty much it for right now. So we'll save that, go back into whatever program. Most likely we're going to bring it into the fiery rip, and just output it there onto some cardstock, and that's about it. Sorry for this boring tutorial, but I just think it's really interesting and we're going to get these templates set up. And thanks to the folks at Fusion Pro again for donating this to us. They've actually donated it to the whole lab, so we'll all be able to work on it. Every station will have this program, and we'll all be able to kind of learn how to incorporate this into our pre-press routine. All right, well, thanks for listening and putting up with my garbage. All right, see ya.